Hi, I'm Summer Paletti, Fractional Revenue Officer of Rise of Us and your host of Revenue Remix. Today, I'm joined by Jenny K. Pollock, the founder of Women X AI. We will hear a little bit more about that. She's also a fractional CMO, and she is standing at her stand-up desk in Redwood City, California. And I am standing in my stand-up desk in Redlands, California.
Welcome back to Revenue Remix, a podcast from Rise of Us, where we take a fresh spin on driving revenue growth, hosted by Summer Paletti, a fractional CRO who works with business owners and leaders who feel held back by outdated systems. This podcast explores how adaptable, unified frameworks can transform static processes, equipping teams to meet evolving customer needs and drive resilient, lasting growth. Each episode features insights from Summer and her guests, offering practical strategies to sidestep common pitfalls and build real revenue momentum. It's time to remix the way we think about growth. Enjoy the show.
So Summer, you were the original, you were ahead of the standing desk trend. You posted recently that you have been doing it for 10 years. And so I figured I too needed to actually make an effort today and hit the button and stand up in honor of our chat. So thank you for the inspiration.
Thank you. I read about cardiac health and sitting too much, and I got rid of the chair. Well, it's a while ago. It's a little bit longer than 10 years, but that's okay.
See, you're just an early adapter. I love that.
Yeah, I'm just a little bit of a health nut. I grew up in California. I can't help it. So we've already sort of broken the ice talking about stand-up desks. I told you I talk too much. So let's do a little icebreaker for the audience. To get us started, can you tell us just a little bit about who you are, what you do, and what got you to the point where you are today?
Absolutely. So I spent the last decade here in Silicon Valley working at a variety of different startups, doing a variety of different things from sales to marketing to product-led growth to kind of tying a bow on it and generating revenue. And it's been a lot of fun. My superpower is unlocking the potential of both people and technology and creating thriving communities alongside profitable businesses. I excel at igniting growth and driving revenue strategy, particularly for B2C software startups. I do have a bit of B2B experience as well. There's a bit more money there. So that's kind of where I'm at. And, I moved out here from the Midwest about 10 years ago, and I have had a lot of fun getting to know different founders. And recently I have really enjoyed working with female founders and serving as a fractional chief marketing officer to help them grow, scale, find product market fit, etc.
That is so cool. And I thought you could join us and again talk a little bit about what you're doing in the B2C space. Obviously, I work in the B2B space, but how I look like a smart visionary, you're going to know my secret right now, is I watch what B2C marketers do because I know that we're going to get that eventually in B2B. B2B's, it accelerated post-COVID, but I just steal ideas from B2C marketers. So
Perfect. What is that saying? Great artists steal or something along those lines. Someone much more eloquent than I said it, but that's the concept. And you're, embodying that. And, I do that too, looking at other B2C marketers and other B2C strategies as well as B2B. I mean, there's just so much more money there. The cycles are a little bit longer and that kind of thing, but it is important to have a good look at the whole ecosystem. So whichever side of that you're on, wherever you're trying to generate revenue, I think you're going to find value in our conversation today.
Sure. And I like treating it like, well, I'm stealing this from somebody and I forget who. Usually I like to credit. They were talking about like B to H in marketing, like talking about like it's a human being, whether you're selling directly to the consumer or whether it's like the HR manager buying a software for their work, it's still a human being. So I kind of embody that. Like B2B can be boring and I don't really want to be stuffy and boring. So the B2C folks get to have fun and I want to have fun too. So.
You know what, Summer? I think you are so much fun. Whether you're working on B2B stuff or not, we always have a great time when we're hanging out on LinkedIn together. So super glad that we get to do this on the podcast here.
Yes, me too. So that was a perfect segue. You've built Women X AI at a time when AI is reshaping entire industries. What is one way you see AI revolutionizing marketing and specifically revenue growth right now, whether it's B2B?
Yes. Okay. In both arenas, AI is just supercharging them on the B2B and B2C side, as well as on the marketing and then revenue side. They go hand in hand as far as I'm concerned. You can't have stellar growth without strong marketing. And you're not going to be able to have really good marketing without product market fit. And so for me, I'm seeing AI as like this lightning bolt that's coming down and hitting all of these things at once and elevating them. And so for me, I think about how can I use AI as a tool to help me and my team do more at scale. And that's where the magic happens. It's not just the one email and wording it better. It's really being able to scale your efforts and apply that to your business. So, for example, on the revenue side of things, yeah, I can sit down with an Excel spreadsheet and I can predict revenue all day long based on all kinds of things that come in and figure out if we do this, if we launch this product, what's going to look like and calculate it out. But AI can help you do that faster than ever before. So you can really ingest more variables and more data so your models can be more predictive. It can help you with pricing strategy, from incorporating pricing psychology to calculating price elasticity for you. At previous startups, I would have to go to the data team and say, hey, can you help me calculate the pricing elasticity over the last, month for our in-game currency or whatever? And you can really have AI look at a lot of these things. Granted, please use an enterprise version. Please make sure it's okay with your employer's AI policy, etc. But when you can hand over some of this data in a safe environment, it can do a lot for you. It can even help you come up with your go-to-market strategy. You can use it as a resource, as a thought partner to think about different things, different fun ways to activate your community to help support the launch. And I think you'll be surprised with what AI suggests, because it is really, really good and thoughtful if you prompt it right and if you give it the right information.
Those are big ifs. I'm taking
That
away
they are.
pricing psychology and I'm going to do an exercise on that for somebody. Just long story short, the B2B cycle is long for a reason. There's like 12 people making the decision, and there's a lot of psychology in there. So that's my reminder that I need to tap into that a little bit more. So thank you.
Absolutely. And hopefully it'll help you do it faster than you would have previously.
Of course. I'm a solopreneur, so everything has to be faster because I can't work 24 hours a day, right?
No, and you shouldn't. It's not good for your health. It's not good for your customers, even, because I know when I do that, when I go into working too much mode, I don't get to show up the way I want to. And so I think it's great that we can outsource some of this stuff to AI.
When my employee works really hard for like $20 a month, so it's also kind of awesome.
That is great, yes. And that's your mini me, right? Or do you mean your AI?
Kind of. I mean, my AI. My mini me makes me take it shopping. It's a lot more expensive than my GPT.
Cash outflow instead of inflow. Yeah, yeah.
A little bit, a little bit. She's kind of expensive. Ay, ay, ay. It's my fault. I took her to Nordstrom once when she was 5, and she noticed how much nicer it was than Target.
Yeah, you shouldn't have done that.
Boots were cute, though.
Worth it.
Boy, let's get back to talking about AI. So there are, obviously, in the community that you and Root have created, there's a ton of AI fans. Tara goes out on X or Blue Sky or whatever, and she finds herself some detractors, which helps keep the conversation balanced. What kind of misconceptions do you think that business leaders might have right now about integrating AI, maybe specifically into sales and marketing strategy?
So, one of the things that I see when businesses are looking at bringing AI in, they think they have to know it all. They have to be the expert. I want to tell you something. It's a secret, but it's not really a secret. Not many people are actually AI experts because the field is evolving. So, if you're an expert 2 days ago and you didn't do anything the last 2 days, guess what? You might not be the expert today. And so it's this revolving thing that's happening, and you don't need to know everything about it to get started, to benefit, to upskill. What I would say is that getting started is so important. Once you get started, once you have fun with it, you're going to do a lot more and you'll get closer to that expert level status. But again, it's not needed to get started. You really can start leveraging it for marketing ideas, for sales strategy. Right now, you can go to ChatGPT or Perplexity or Pi AI, any of your favorite go-tos, and you can type in, hey, help me generate a go to market plan for this particular feature. And I want to include these three things in it. And you can list the three things you know you want to do, and it can help you build out more.
Nice. And that's funny. That's what Tara said when she was on my podcast a few months ago, was that like people hesitate to start because they're like, oh, I'm not ready. I don't know all the things yet. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and I see it time and time again. And it's like a lot of these leaders who have their own companies, who are doing startups, who are founders, they're used to knowing a lot in their field of expertise. And AI is coming into all fields. So it doesn't matter if it's a social media company or if it's a healthcare startup or if it is a gaming company. AI is coming for all of these areas. And you're going to have to be uncomfortable, and that's okay. Just get started.
Yeah, no, I agree. So then I get nervous. I mean, I'm a very empathetic person, and so I like to think about human beings. You know, I don't want to get to Terminator yet, where human beings are obsolete.
No, let's
So
not.
I get super nervous when I hear about like, oh, we're getting rid of most of our marketing team because we did AI, or it's like I'm like, oh my god, no, like this is going to be a mess. So AI can automate a lot and it can do a lot for you. But then human creativity and then human connection still plays a role as well, especially in sales. But the sales and marketing line has kind of blurred over the last maybe 5 years or more. So where do you think AI stops and human intuition starts to take over in marketing? Like, where's that balance for you?
Yeah, that is a really great question. I wanted to back up to something you said in the beginning of it, though. So you mentioned, and I hear it too, I see it too. Hey, we're downsizing because we started AI. We added AI to our marketing stack, and now we don't need this team of 5 people. So it's a team of 2 people. I would encourage those companies to actually think about it a little bit differently. What if instead of making cuts to your team, you helped uplevel them in AI and actually got more done? I think that when we're using AI to augment our team and upskilling our team and educating our team, you can actually have a better, stronger organization that can get more done. And that plays into this question of where do you think AI stops and the human intuition takes over? It's a collaboration. At the end of the day, us humans are still pulling the levers, and I think we will be for a while. But instead of pulling a lever and waiting for a long time, it's just faster. So instead of downsizing, I would encourage organizations to think about how can you move faster and get more done, because that's what your competition's thinking about right now. And if you want to match it, you should be thinking that way too. I will also say you can be creative while using AI. I do it all day. I go back and forth with it, I iterate, I ask follow up questions, and we collaborate and create together. And so for each person and each task, this line between human and AI is different. And it changes too. It's not the same every day for me. Sometimes I'm using more AI, sometimes it's less. It depends on my bandwidth and the project.
That is really clever. And it's just funny. You know, I think of all these sayings that I can't get right. So this is another one of those. Like you can't save your way to profitability.
Yeah,
Okay, we're going to put in AI and we're going to cut, and it's like, okay. That is like taking that Silicon Valley go, 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 grow, scale type of mindset and applying it to the rest of the world. I'm stealing that, by the way. You're going to see that in some content later on.
I love it. Can't wait.
Okay, so speaking of Silicon Valley, you're a fractional CMO, you're also an investor, and sometimes I work for funded companies. So, what's one key mistake you see businesses making when they're trying to scale? And
Yeah,
be they high growth or slow growth, there's a lot of mistakes when you're in growth mode.
absolutely. I feel like mistakes are like hiding behind each thing and you kind of have to dodge them as you're growing. But when I see teams doing this, they're often trying to grow before they have their product market fit. And that is an uphill battle. It is really hard. If you don't have that product market fit, you can put as much as you want into paid advertising. People will come and you'll have this leaky bucket problem. I see it all the time. But if you are listening throughout the process to your users and building in community, you might find it's a bit easier. Growth is always hard. It's never easy. It's just what flavor of hard do you want it to be? What do you want to be navigating? And so I really encourage, companies who are, whether it's launching a new product or completely launching a brand new company, you want to make sure you have that product market fit.
So sometimes we're working with companies who don't have a full-time marketing leader. I mean, both of us are fractional. So what is your best advice for making smart marketing investments without wasting budgets on things that don't really move the needle? Because marketing is a thing that, like, a lot of people want to do because it sounds fun and it's kind of cool. But I do see a lot of people doing random acts of marketing, like my friend
Oof.
Dave says.
Yeah, that stresses me out. There should be a strategy. It shouldn't be random. One of the things that I think is when you don't have a full-time marketing leader, you should find someone who can come in and help with the strategy. You should find a different person who can then help on the execution. You don't want to be paying your big time fractional CMO dollars to have them do implementation tasks. So if you're able to have a, more junior person who is maybe full time, or even if they're part time, or hiring that out, I think that that is really going to help you stretch your marketing dollar. If you don't have anyone in your network, talk to the people who you are working with. They typically know. So if someone brings me in and we need to do some paid advertising, I know exactly who I would bring in to help execute that. And using the resources that you have and being smart with them, right? You have to be choiceful in what you're putting. Yes, you can work with the AI and come up with a great marketing plan, but you might actually want to figure out which pieces you're going to do. And if you try and do them all, you're still going to spend a lot of money on making that happen and the tactical component of it. So make sure you're really, really choiceful in how you do that and how you decide what to do. And that's where a strategic marketer can come into play and help you think through that. And be upfront about the budget. If you know what your budget is for marketing for this quarter or for the half, let them know so they can help build to that budget. You don't want them to go come up with a great idea, big, huge strategic plan, spend all this time, and they thought they were working with way more than you have or way less than you have. Neither's good. So just be upfront and share your budget and what you're trying to accomplish. And it's okay if it's a shoestring budget.
Yeah, that's okay. It's hard for people to talk about money.
Yeah.
But it just, yeah, that's a whole other conversation. That's a sales conversation. We're not going to get
That
into
is true. Absolutely. Different.
Yeah, for sure. So let's talk a little bit more about women X AI. I'm going to totally change the subject since we're not going to talk about sales. I talk about sales all the dang time. So AI is transforming how we work, especially for women in leadership roles. I mean, that's one of the couple reasons why I thought the community was great and I love it. How do you see AI leveling the playing field, and where do we still have work to do and, keep it under 2 hours?
Yeah. So it's really interesting when we're looking at AI. Is it going to help us be able to reduce biases and challenges? Is it going to help level the playing field? Or is it going to make the things that already exist in our society more magnified? And my answer is it's up to us to decide. And there's some really interesting products and people out there working on this. So one of my favorites is a woman named Melinda Kohler Johnson. And she's working on some software at a company that she founded called Conversa. And it actually makes the hiring process easier for the HR team while also making it less biased by using AI. It'll redact certain things from resumes. If something's unclear, it'll actually go back to the candidate before it goes to the hiring manager and say, hey, can you help me understand what you did here at this role? And it'll give the new information to the hiring manager, allowing it to be a little bit more of an even playing field. So I think there are a lot of really cool technologies out there, but at the end of the day, they do reflect the society we live in, and we need to be mindful how we're using them.
I'm a little blown away. I love that, by the way.
Yeah.
And I don't remember where I gather useless nonsense. I feel like it was a Gartner podcast talking to an HR leader about AI in the hiring process. And I think the stat was 30%. Like 30% of women trust the hiring process more when they know it's AI enabled because they know that certain things are going to get filtered out.
Exactly. And I've seen that in the investing space as well. I forget the name of the firm, unfortunately, but they had 168 questions that each prospective company that they might invest in would answer. And it was the same questions, and they were figured out and generated once the data comes in. AI looks over it and then hands it over to them. But everyone got the same questions. There's a bunch of research around how men will get questions that are positive. Hey, what happens if you raise more than your target? What are you going to do with it? Where women will often get questions, it's the opposite side of that. Are you sure you can raise that much? What are you going to do when you don't hit your target? And having software, having AI potentially embedded in these choices and these decisions can make it more of an even playing field.
I love that. We need it. Okay, so what's one AI tool or strategy that business leaders should be paying more attention to right now, but aren't? And let's leave the AI detractors out of that. LinkedIn is a little bit of a bubble. That's where we promote this. So let's just assume that they're not actively resistors.
Yeah, so they're using it to some degree. One of the things that I like to do is I actually, as I'm coming up with a strategic plan, will ask the AI to rank things for me on a couple different lenses. One is the level of effort. The second is actually the expected level of impact. And it's really easy. You can do it in any tool that you're using. But for me, this can help me see it a little bit quicker. I often will have it put it in a grid where so I can see it next to each other, which is really useful. So I highly recommend doing that. That is my favorite little prompt that I use as I'm coming up with strategic plans for my clients.
That is cool. I'm not using here. I am a business leader who's not using one of those. I haven't been
Perfect.
asking it impact. I'm gonna add that. I like it to stack rank things, but sometimes I
Absolutely.
feel like when you're doing a marketing effort or a new thing, it's a lot of spaghetti at the wall. You're like, is
Yeah.
this gonna work? I kind of hope so.
I mean, it is. And then you iterate, right? And you can take whatever you learn and you can send it back in to that conversation with the AI. If you forget to tell it, then it won't know. But if you loop it in just like you would a team member, it'll go over there with you.
Yeah, that's fun. I do treat it like an employee. Seems like I yell at it a lot on Fridays.
I do that too. I'm like, no, that's not what I meant. Try again. Which, granted, I talk much nicer to my team, but when it's the AI, I get really frustrated. I'm like, why don't you understand? You're a computer. You should know everything. Alas, it does not. Which might be a good thing, right? We'll avoid that whole Terminator situation we were talking about earlier.
Exactly. Let's have a little fun. If you were launching a brand new company today, how would AI play a role in your go-to-market from like day one?
Amazing. So I love this idea because I think there are a lot of people out there who are on the cusp of launching something. I also feel that with Women X AI, we've actually used AI for everything. We start out saying, hey, how do we use AI to do that? And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And we go from there. A lot of times we can actually get the first iteration from AI and then we get involved and we'll change things. But I would have it design the logo. There's a lot of really great tools out there. Brand Crowd, design.com, Looka. There's a ton that are specifically out there for logo creation. You can also use things that aren't specifically for logo creation but can help, like the Adobe Firefly is one of my favorite image generators. I was using that yesterday actually to create some Zoom backgrounds. So definitely consider how can you use the image piece. The other thing I would use is actually Pallavi Sharma, one of the women in my network. She has a custom GPT called Mach, MACH, and it is set up specifically and trained to help you with business problems, ideas, things you're trying to navigate. So I highly recommend using that. It'll ask you questions to help you get to the right spot. So it really shows this like collaboration between human and AI. And then lastly, as we talked about before, having AI rank what you've come up with for your go-to-market by level of effort and in lever.
I like that. Well, and there's so many tools out there. I used an AI tool to come up with the name of my LLC. So
Cool.
actually, like without AI, I don't think I would have had the confidence isn't the right word, but I'm going to use it
Sure.
like
I'm
to
tracking.
know that I had a helper.
Yeah.
Almost like it sounds super cheesy, but it's almost like my co-founder because I used AI at my last company. And then when I closed that and started this, like it was all just like AI from the start. And it was so helpful and so fast. And I didn't feel like I needed a coworker or a co-founder. I felt like I could do it on my own.
Yeah. They talk
So
about that. Who's going to be the person that works with AI to make the first $1 billion in one company? Like it's going to happen. It's going to be
yeah,
really interesting.
yeah.
Summer, I'm really curious. You mentioned that you use it to help you with the naming. How did you go about that process? What did you use?
You were going to ask that. I used a thing I forgot about, okay?
Okay.
But it was, I could look it up.
Oh, that's fine.
It was specifically to help you come up with names. And it was like you put in a descriptor of what you were going to do and it gave some ideas. It was really pretty cool because it was very visual and it gave you some ideas of names and you would tell it which ones you liked and which ones you didn't and then refresh and it would continue like refining the name until I got one that I liked. So it had like almost this visual sort of almost a gamified kind of feel to it. It was really helpful because I knew I needed to make an LLC before I launched publicly, and I was like, well, what do I call it? So AI helped me figure out what to call it.
It helped with the naming of Rise of Us, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's so
Because I
cool.
was like, oh, I'm going to do things with people. I help them, increase their revenue, yada, all that nonsense. It took, I don't know, it took maybe an hour, give or take, but I
That's
came
so
up with, so I
cool.
was like, oh my God, I love that. And
Well,
then
and
an AI helped me like think of like, I think if this was my GPT, like, oh, you need to use like a sun image or something like that. So like everything you see is it's just, and I'm not alone. I see it all the time. There's like solopreneurs who have this super polished kind of thing and they have their you know what together and it's AI
yeah.
behind all of it. I think it's awesome.
Absolutely. And there's nothing wrong with using AI as a tool. Like it would be silly if you didn't, right? If you're like trying to build something out of wood and you're like, oh, I'm not going to use a hammer because I don't know how or I'm scared of it. It's like, well, why don't you ask someone how to use the hammer? Why don't you ask? And the best part is in this situation, you can actually ask AI how to use AI, which I think is just so cool. I do it all the time, especially with new tools.
Yes. I think someone on the Saturday get together was like meta prompting. Like
Yeah.
ask AI to deliver you a prompt. Like, here's what I want you to do, Chat GPT. How can I get the yeah, it's so fun. Meta prompting. Hi, another thing I'm stealing. Okay, so if you're sitting across from somebody, I prattled on too long, I talked too much about all these like AI first companies. So let's say you're talking to someone, we'll pretend you're not in Silicon Valley because I feel like this wouldn't happen there. There's a CEO you're talking to and they're not really using AI yet. What would you tell them as to like why they need to get over their resistance and start?
Ooh, yes. So I do come across this from time to time. When I'm talking to folks, CEOs who are leading businesses, and they're not already in on the AI thing. And guess what? They don't have to be the AI expert. You can hire someone to do that, you can outsource it, but you should be participating. I would say to them, your competition is already using AI. Start today, or you're going to get left behind. And so, by not providing your employees with a clear AI policy, a vetted enterprise level AI tool that they can use, and upskilling time and resources, it's actually a liability to your current business. And if you choose to help your employees adapt in the AI era, it's going to benefit your company. If you don't, they're going to adapt anyways, and it's going to be a hindrance. Clear AI policies, you're going to end up with people doing the bring your own AI thing. Tara Bonhurst in our network, she talks about this a lot. And that's when people take your company data, throw it into their AI of choice, so into ChatGPT, maybe not the enterprise level. So maybe that information is helping train the model and it's your proprietary company data. Whew, it just makes me so nervous. So, anyways, you need to make sure you have a clear AI policy. And if you're helping your employees navigate this AI era, you're going to be stronger together as opposed to having it be a divide. So, I highly recommend getting started. If you haven't yet, feel free to join a community, feel free to take a class, feel free to talk to people. And at the least, you could talk to AI about it. Pull up ChatGPT and talking to it about why or if your company should be using AI. I think getting a lot of information from different sources is key here, and there are resources to help you figure it out and navigate it.
Yeah, no, the BYOAI came to mind, and financial services. So I get really nervous about when stuff goes places it might maybe.
Finance and healthcare, yeah, that's where I get worried. So I think it's one of those things that, you want to be ahead of this one. Think of it kind of like how cybersecurity came about and how boards were having, cybersecurity roles added. Now, mind you, AI is different than cybersecurity. It may not be the same person you go to, but you should be thinking about this. You should have someone on your advisory board, on your board of directors, in your network who can help and is an AI expert.
I mean, people are going to use it. They're going to load stuff that maybe they shouldn't. God forbid there's a breach. You want to fire that employee, you're going to get in trouble because
Yeah.
you didn't tell the person that they couldn't do the thing. So, yeah.
Yeah, you got to be careful.
Oh, 100%.
And that's where
Okay.
corporate AI training can come into play. Like there are people out there who will do it. There's lots of options at all different price points. So make sure that you are thinking about that as a business leader.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I'm aging myself here. Sorry. I did have to convince my former employer that yeah, you do need to have a social media account and you do need to go out and do marketing on social media. I mean, it's just bonkers to think about the fact that it was like, no, that's just chat rooms and like so this is just this generation's that. It's the latest thing. It's here. You can't resist it. You may as well just figure out a way to get it done.
Exactly, Summer. And, in today's day and age, what company doesn't have a social media presence, right? It will seem so common in the future.
Yeah, for sure. I think so. Okay, let's have a little bit of fun. So, what is a defining moment in your career that shaped how you lead today?
I think that's a really good question. So I remember a while ago when I first started going to, meetings with the executives and I first started, participating at this higher level. And one of the things that happened was at first I was a little bit shy, a little bit not sure if I had the right stuff to say, not sure if I was making sense. And I remember working with a coach who set me up with a mantra. And the mantra was, my contributions at the executive level are appreciated and respected. And at the end of the day, that's why I was in those rooms. That's why I was in those meetings. That's what I was getting paid to do, to contribute. And so, with that lens, it was really an eye opener for me and really helped kind of set up the next stage in my career.
That's really powerful. I think a lot of female leaders have had that inner saboteur or that like imposter
Imposter
syndrome.
syndrome?
Yeesh.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. So, what kind of stuff do you do outside of work that keeps you energized? And the Women XAI community gathering on Saturday doesn't count because that's work. Sorry.
Dang it. Wait, hanging out with my friends does work? No, I totally understand. I have quite a plant collection I've been cultivating. It started in the pandemic and now there's a bunch of them. They keep multiplying. Another thing that I like to do is I've got a little corgi. His name is Mr. Tater and he has a bunch of corgi friends. So every now and then I will just text all the corgis and be like, hey, bring them over. And then we have like 6 corgis running around and it's complete chaos and so much fun. So I really enjoy doing that. He also likes his off leash walks. And okay, so our car is white, the interior is white. This was maybe a bad choice, but that's the aesthetic I like. And the dog, he's very low. So no matter what happens, if he gets wet at all, he gets muddy. So routinely every weekend, we'll go for this like off leash dog park hike through the forest, through the woods. Of course, there's a stream, so he gets wet and muddy. And anyways, so there's a lot of little muddy dog in the white car. So yeah, we do that every weekend, but it's a lot of fun. And then I also watercolor.
It's funny. The pandemic turned everybody into a crazy something. Like,
Yes,
you're
crazy
the crazy
plant lady right
sauerbraid
here.
lady, crazy plant lady. I love it.
Yeah, I skipped the sourdough thing, I skipped the bread thing, but fully into the plant thing. And now I'm stuck with them, right? I can't like get rid of them. So
Yeah,
we'll see what
there's no
happens.
plant, you can't drop it off and somebody's going to foster it for you. It's just yours.
Yes.
That is hilarious. I love
Unintended
the fact, I mean,
consequences.
there's a dog. The dog helps you get outside. I love outside. That's super fun. I love that he has dog friends.
Yeah, that's where a lot of my friends come from, from his friends, people,
Crazy
right?
corgi ladies.
Yeah.
It's so funny. I love it. I do not have the patience to have. I'm kept busy by mini me, who never wants to go outside, so I'm just on walks talking to myself. It's less fun.
That's okay. That's where I do a lot of my podcast listening as well while I'm walking the dog as well.
Yes, yes, 100%. And I'll get it. I don't know if you're like this. I'll get an idea and I get inspired, and then I like have to pull out Chat GPT or at a minimum my notes, and I'm like it's mountainy, and I'm like trying not to fall off and like talking to myself. And one time this guy like waved at me and said hi because I think he thought I was talking to him. It was so embarrassing.
Did you
But
just
it's
say
just
hi
something about
back?
getting outside. Yeah.
Or did you explain the situation?
I didn't. I was just like, oh my God, I want to die. I just want to crawl in that hole right there, kick the gopher out. No, it's just, there's something about being outside and just kind of having your feet busy and just like the ideas flow. I love listening to a podcast. Okay, so let's see. I'm going to throw you a curveball because I mean like that. So we're both huge, prolific podcast listeners. Other than yours, what is a good podcast to listen to for somebody who might want to be thinking about growing their business or learning or upskilling, anything that a business leader or owner should be listening to or should take a
Yeah,
peek at?
of course. So I have a couple. The first one that comes to mind might seem a little interesting, but it is called How I Write. And Dave Perel over there is amazing. He interviews these writers who are so good at their craft. Like they spend all day, right? Like they're actual writers. I end up writing because I'm a business owner, but these people actually do it. And so I have learned a ton from listening to this. And there's all kinds of different people that come on as guests. And it's just kind of been a different way of thinking for me. So it's been a lot of fun. I think it has improved my communications and improved the way that I deliver presentations, the way I come up with catchphrases that can be memorable and things like that. So I highly recommend checking it out, even if writing isn't your thing. Actually, especially if writing isn't your main thing. And then the other one is called AI Kid You Not. My friend Mia Umanos started it with her daughter, actually. I think her daughter's like about 13, and they like to talk about AI together. And so they decided to start a podcast, and it's really interesting. Mia's a founder of a company called Clickvoyant, so you get that perspective, and then you get her daughter's perspective, and you see how they talk about AI together. It's really cool, and most of the episodes are pretty short, so like you can catch them and really get up to date. And so it is really interesting to see how they cover topics and what the next generation is thinking about, because AI is a big deal and it's going to be embedded in everything we do. Plus, it's going to change our environment. So it is just really interesting to see the thoughts of someone who is younger than us.
That is fun. I'm going to have to check that out. I might make my daughter listen to it. She thinks that I'm the most boring person on the planet with all my podcast listening.
Well, maybe she'll like this one, someone closer to her age.
Right. Perhaps. All right, so I want to keep on track. If someone wants to find you, where are places that they can connect?
Yeah, great question. I am all over LinkedIn all the time. So Jenny K. Pollock, you can find me there. And, you can also email me at jenniferkpollock@gmail.com, and happy to connect, happy to chat AI, happy to chat marketing, go to market, all kinds of things. So looking forward to connecting with your community and the Rise of Us folks.
So glad I found your community. So I'm going to plug Women XAI does a Saturday like networking in the comment section. It's super fun. I learn a new thing almost every week, either a tool or a prompt or something like that. I've met super smart, really nice people. It's not just women. So I highly recommend anybody come check it out and have fun with us.
I appreciate that. I always love chatting with you on the weekend, Summer. It is so much fun. We get together, women and allies from all over the globe, and we talk about AI. Normally, a community member hosts it, and we have one personal question and two AI questions. So you'll hear, like, what are the most favorite prompts being used? What are the new tools? What are the events you should be going to? That kind of thing. So it is a ton of fun, and we hope to see you there.
Absolutely. Okay, let's close it out. Thank you for joining me on Revenue Remix. Remember to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform and our YouTube channel for more insights and interviews. As I always tell my clients, when your team, strategies, and goals align, growth isn't just possible, it's inevitable. And I will see you next time.